If you're watching this video, you're probably wondering, what is 3D printing? Well, if you pay attention to tech at all, you probably have already heard about it. It's pretty much into everything. There are 3D printed shoes, 3D printed rocket parts, 3D printed toys, 3D printed body parts, 3D printed candy. Everything is being 3D printed these days. So beyond the obvious, it's printing in 3D, what is 3D printing? It's a big question, so we're going to start off small. This is a desktop 3D printer. Here are its main parts. The spool of plastic gets heated up and pushed through the nozzle as the nozzle moves above the build site. The nozzle distributes melted plastic in layers, and the whole thing cools off as it is printed. It takes a while, but by the end of the process, you have a 3D printed object. So now we ask how the printer knows what to print. Where are the directions coming from? Well, like most contemporary printers, it's hooked up to a computer and printing from a digital file. The digital file can be downloaded from the internet, or you can make one yourself in various 3D modeling softwares. Making a 3D image in software is a lot like playing with digital clay. You usually start with a mass like a sphere or just a plane, and you build and carve and curve your form out of that whole piece. So that's the basic gist of it. You make a 3D model, you hook it up to the printer, and you wait for it to print. So now let's get a little bit into the nitty-gritty. Even as just a hobbyist, there are a number of different types of 3D printers you can get, the main difference between them being the material that you print in. The two main types you'll see as a hobbyist are FDM and SLA. FDM, or fused deposition modeling, is more common, and you've probably seen it if you've seen any 3D printing in action. It involves the spools of plastic filament being melted and layered on top of each other like so many pancakes. It's the one I illustrated before. SLA happens almost in reverse. The build occurs in a pool of resin, and instead of a nozzle going up as the print builds, the platform gradually lowers as a laser traces the cross-section of the model out of the resin. It looks as though the build is melting into shape, like the symbiote from Spider-Man or the T-1000. Other forms of 3D printing involve a process known as 3DP, which stands for 3D printing, but let's just say the P stands for powder. In this type of 3D printing, a printhead prints a layer of binder, which is then covered with a layer of powder, which is then covered with another layer of binder and powder, and so on and so forth. This takes longer than the other types of printing, but results in a build with much greater detail, and a build that can be printed in multiple colors. And of course, moving out of the hobbyist onto larger scale stuff, you have industrial 3D printers that can print in metal, and engineers are constantly looking for ways to print in different materials, such as brick or ceramics or even wood, in order to one day print entire buildings. Some organizations, including the US military, have also started experimenting with 3D printed food. We already have 3D printed confectionery like chocolate, and we're working on 3D printing actual food like meats and pizzas. There are also medical professionals looking into 3D printing human tissues and organs, even going so far as to print a fully functional ear, or a liver that can survive for up to 40 days. 3D printing has also been successfully used in orthopedic replacements and joint replacements. 3D printing is still an exciting new frontier, full of potential and possibility beyond just making custom knickknacks. And we hope this has maybe inspired you to pick up a printer of your own and start building something. Thank you for watching.